Okay, I'm going to go over the last workbook page for circles. Workbook, page 124, 1, 3, 5, 8, 10, and 13. Number 1, pretty straightforward. You're just going to put the center in, put the radius in. Remember to square the radius, make it 64. Minus the negative will make that addition. Number 3, a little bit more difficult. You have the fraction here, keep it the fraction. Minus the negative radical, your answer is going to have a radical in it. And then here is a source of mistakes. When you square the radius, which is 5 square root 2, that's going to be 5 squared times the square root of 2 squared. And the square root of 2 squared, the radical and the exponent cancel out. And that's 25 times 2, giving you the radius of 50. So practice that. Take a look at squaring a number and a radical. A lot of people are going to incorrectly make this 4. It stays 2. The square root of 2 squared just clears the radical by leaving it at 2. Okay, so number 5. Okay, number 5. Write an equation of a circle with endpoints of a diameter at -2, -9, and 0, -5. So I'm thinking of a circle, and I have 2 endpoints. They're not straight like that, but this represents a diameter here. So if we can find the center of the diameter, that'll help us with our equation of the circle. And then if we find the distance from one point to the center, that'll help us find the radius. So let's start with doing the midpoint of these 2 points to help us find the center. So we're going to add the x's and divide by 2. Add the y's and divide by 2. It's going to give us -1. Well, I guess I can show you that work. It's going to give us -2 over 2, comma, -14 over 2. -1, -7. Okay, so now that we have the center, we have most of our equation are in. We're going to do x minus -1 squared plus y minus -7 squared equals r squared. So that's going to be x plus 1 squared plus y plus 7 squared equals r squared. So now all that's left is find the radius. So if we do the distance from this midpoint to either of these points on the diameter, that'll tell us the radius. So I'm going to do midpoint to this second point here for my distance formula. You could pick either one because the radius is constant. So that's going to be the square root of -1 minus 0 squared plus -7 minus -5 squared. Square root of -1 squared plus -7 plus 5 squared. It's going to be 1 plus -2 squared. Plus 4 the square root of 5. So r equals the square root of 5. Our equation for our circle, already mostly written, x plus 1 squared plus y plus 7 squared equals the square root of 5 squared. X plus 1 squared plus y plus 7 squared equals square root of 5. Maybe I should show you this. Square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is 5, because any radical times itself clears the radical. We covered that quite a bit in our chapter on radicals, so that's what we're doing there. You could, as a middleman, write the square root of 25, and then that's 5. If you wanted to show more work, that's fine. So we have a 5 here. This is the equation of our circle, number 5. Number 8, find the center and the radius and graph. Okay, our center will be -3, 0. It's a -3 that made this positive when it was plugged in to the equation, so -3, and there isn't anything in parentheses with y, so that's 0. And our radius is the square root of 16, so our radius is 4. -3, 0 will be here. I go up 4 over 4 over 4 down 4. Oof. All right. Now 10 and 13. So looking at number 10, I immediately put it in order so that the x's were next to each other and the y's were next to each other. Now we want to complete the square for both of these variables so that we have a binomial squared to make it look like the equation of a circle. So what number would I add here to complete the square, and what number would I add to the y expression to complete the square? We're going to do b over 2 squared. So here it's 2 over 2 squared, which is 1. And for the y expression, 6 over 2 squared will be 9. So 1 will complete the square here, and 9 will complete the square here. So my new equation is x squared plus 2x plus 1 plus y squared plus 6y plus 9 equals 26 plus 1 plus 9. So when I added 1 next to my x's and I added 9 next to my y's, it was really important that I also add them to the right side of the equation so the equation stays balanced.